106.7 Light FM.
It's 106.7 Light FM, our Hope for the Holidays Radiothon. Rich with Cubby and Christine, glad to be here. It is a day filled with hope, and we're asking you to become a bright light. That is a $20 monthly donation that'll benefit the kids at Hassenfeld Children's Hospital at NYU Langone. Now, Kim Shalom, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Is Sydney's mom and is featured in a story song. Now, Sydney was born with a soft cleft palate in August of 2019. It went undiagnosed until she was 4 months old. Kim and her husband chose Dr. Roberto Flores at Hassenfeld Children's Hospital as Sydney's surgeon. She had corrective surgery in July of 2020 as the New York region emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic. Sydney celebrated her first birthday and is meeting all of her physical and developmental milestones. So just going back with Kim and Sydney, when she was a newborn baby, what happened that made you concerned about her?
From the second that I started feeding her in the hospital, I thought that something was off. Every time I would give her a bottle, she would make this crazy clicking sound, like she was trying way too hard to drink the bottle. I had a few issues with my first daughter with breastfeeding. So I was sort of already on the, I'm not going to try breastfeeding train, but when no one was in the room, I did try. Sydney started crying and I said, that's it. Nope, we're doing straight bottle. But even with the bottle, I was noticing a lot of issues with her feeding. And also whenever I would feed her with a bottle, the milk would always come out of one nostril. It was always the same nostril. And my husband, my mom, and I were all in the hospital, and we were all bringing it to the attention of the nurses, and the nurses were telling me that it wasn't an issue, that it was normal. And when the pediatrician came to see me twice, and I would tell him what was going on also, and he would say, normal. I mean, wouldn't even really let me explain what was going on, just told me it was normal. So as, a second time, but new mom, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, well, all kids are different. It's normal. Everyone keeps telling me it's normal. They don't even really want to hear what's going on. So it's normal. So those were definitely my lead signs. Then the bottles that we had used for my older daughter, we absolutely loved. And I was trying to give those to Sydney, and she would just suck on the bottle for an hour and not one drip would come out for her. So I started having to give her the disposable bottles that we were using in the hospital, and I would manually have to squeeze it into her mouth so that she'd be able to drink. And just feeding her was so exhausting. It would come out of her nose, she'd click, she wouldn't get it out. Like as she was getting bigger, and wanting more of the formula, she just wasn't satisfied. And again, I kept bringing up to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician kept saying, don't worry about it. We actually went to, when she was 9 days old, we went, or maybe even 8 days old, we went for her newborn photo shoot. And our photographer, who sees babies all the time, said, there's something wrong. She has a lip tie or tongue tie or something, like bring her to a specialist. And I was like, you know what? I didn't really think about lip tie or tongue tie. So we brought her to specialist. She did have a lip tie and tongue tie. We took care of both of them. The feeding started to improve a little bit. But again, as she was getting bigger, it was like she just couldn't get it fast enough. It was still coming out of her nose. I mean, we just had like issue after issue, and I'd say it frustrated me because I had another child also that I had to attend to, and I felt like it was taking me 2 hours to just give this poor baby anywhere between 2 and 4 ounces of formula. But I was trying to tell myself, like, they both need my attention and I need to do what's best for both of them, and like really worked on managing my time between the two of them and making sure that Sydney got fed. But I mean, it was just constantly a struggle. And then finally I decided to switch pediatricians because I felt like my pediatrician at the time just wasn't listening to me. And I had told the new pediatrician what was going on, and that, her feeding seemed to be improving since we took care of the lip tie and tongue tie, but that there were still issues, and I'd let her know as it went along. The next time I saw the new pediatrician, she looked in her mouth and she's like, you have to go see an ENT. This looks like a cleft palate. And to me, a cleft was always visible on the face. I had never really heard of a baby having a cleft palate. So we went to an ENT. I started doing all my research. We went to an ENT, got the diagnosis. The ENT didn't believe me either when I got there because she had been gaining weight. And I said, she's gaining weight because I'm literally squeezing formula into her mouth. And when he looked, he said, oh, wow, yeah, she does have a cleft palate. He said, yep. So from there, we were referred to a surgeon, really liked that surgeon. But as I continued to do my research, I learned about Dr. Roberto Flores, who we ended up going with at Hassenfeld. And he was actually recommended to us by, initially by one of my brother and sister-in-law's friends, who they live in Pennsylvania, but their friend actually works on a Cleft team in Pennsylvania. And she had told me, if you're in New York, you should go to NYU. And I said, I'm not going all the way to the city. Like, we're going to have to go once a month for these appointments. How am I going to manage this? I don't think I can do that. And I kind of decided that I was going to stick with the surgeon that I had already met with, that was on Long Island, where I'm located. And then as I continued to talk to people that I know, I actually was friendly with a speech therapist, and she put me in touch with someone also who also recommended Dr. Roberto Flores. So at this point, I'm like, I have two professionals in the field who are telling me to go to this doctor, so I have to go to this doctor. I have to go check him out. And we were like just humbled by the experience. I think I was really happy with my initial decision, but once I met Dr. Flores, I had just like felt a sense of calm that I didn't feel sooner. And I just felt like I was making the right decision by going to them. It felt more like a family than like going to a doctor. It was very communicative, and my husband and I just had such a great feeling when we were there. And it was, here's what we're going to do. We met with every single person that would pertain to us. We met with the surgeon, the nurse practitioner, the dietitian, the speech therapist. I mean, you name it, they were in that room with us. And then from there, we chose an ENT that worked with Dr. Flores, who her name is Dr. Megan Gaffey. She's absolutely fabulous. And she did Sydney's ear tubes because, as I learned, everything is all connected. So she was born with the cleft, which meant that her muscles weren't facing in the right direction and her ears weren't draining. And, now we had to worry about possible hearing issues and speech issues based on that. So there was like so much that came along with this. And the fact that we didn't have a diagnosis for 4 months was frustrating, because I just knew that something was wrong. So I am very grateful for the connections that I had that had recommended me to Hassenfeld Children's Hospital and Dr. Flores. And I am so thankful to him because Sydney's in a great place right now. And she's thriving. And she's a little chunker. They were worried about her gaining weight, but she's gaining weight all right. So that's kind of how we got there, and really happy with the decision. The last time we saw Dr. Flores was a couple of weeks after Sydney's surgery, and we don't have to see him again until like February or March. And she's eating, she's starting to make sounds. She's really doing well. So we're pleased with it.
Are you aware of how much we have in common?
I was given a little inkling about it.
So I could probably talk to you for another hour, but I know we have to wrap up soon. But I want to ask you. So my daughter was born with a soft cleft palate, January. The only
January 2020?
Of this year. Yep. And her surgery is going to be, well, full disclosure, we're recording this before December 15th, and our surgery is December 15th.
Oh my God.
Can you tell me that it's harder on me than it will be on her? Because I think that I'm worried about many things. I've heard about the things they have to wear on their arms after it's all over, so their hands stay out of their mouth. But I'm hoping the overall pain, and we're getting the tubes done too. I'm hoping that it's harder on us walking away while they go in surgery than it is on them. What can you tell me to get me prepped for this?
So I had actually joined a group on Facebook, a group of moms, dads. You're in it. Okay. So I had actually met a woman in the group, same situation. Her daughter was having the exact same surgery. I don't know who you're using, but exact same doctor, hospital, everything. And so she was really my sounding board, and it was great because she went through the surgery ahead of me, and I asked the exact same questions. And because of everything going on with COVID-19, I remember her telling me that they sent her home the same day. And so I was sort of prepared to do that. I said, okay, we're going to be great. Like, we're going to go home. It's fine. And we were not prepared to go home the same day. And it was really hard because my husband couldn't be with me in the hospital.
Yeah, that's happening to me.
So if we wanted to both be there, we'd have to switch off, but not where I could hold her and he can come in and switch off with me. I'd have to leave and he'd have to come in. So I sort of left him in the car the whole day. He sat in the car in front of the hospital. And I finally told him, go home. We're in a good place. My daughter didn't drink right away. It took her a while to do that, and it is awful. It's absolutely awful watching them come out of anesthesia, not know what happened. One of my big fears was, is she going to be afraid to go to sleep again? Because last time she went to sleep, she woke up in so much pain. And so, I mean, like, these are the things that I remember, but it was, I would say maybe a day and a half it was of like torture on me. And then she was like, I want a bath. I want to eat. I want this. I want that. And she was doing so great. The things on the arms, they're called no-nos. Our doctor actually, a lot of the doctors will make them wear braces where they can't bend their elbows because of the type of surgery that Sydney had. They weren't so concerned about things going in her mouth, but more going towards the back of her throat. So hers, she was able to bend her arms, but she had like these giant mittens on her hands. And even our doctor told us she was a little weird because she loved them. She had no problem with them, but kept those on for 3 weeks straight. Some babies will have an issue with that. So I'm not sure if your baby will not like those, but it's not the end of the world. And, like I keep telling myself, there are so many babies who are so much less fortunate than we are. And as horrible as a situation as this was, like, we're doing okay, and hopefully she'll continue to do okay. And hopefully it's just something that we need to continue to monitor and we tell her about one day. And here's a tidbit for you that might get you through it a little bit better. As I mentioned earlier in what I was telling you, I had never even known that a child could be born with a cleft palate without the cleft lip or anything like that. Well, I come to find out that someone in my family actually was born with a cleft palate, and I grew up with her and never knew. And so I had actually reached out to her right before Sydney's surgery, and I said, is it true that you had a surgery when you were really young? And she's like, yeah, I had this thing called a cleft palate. And I'm like, so Sydney has it? And she said to me, she's like, it's just a distant story that was told to me at this point. It's not even
memory.
It was never a part of my life or anything like that. And I think that was over 50 or 60 years ago. So now, with all the advancements that they're making, she actually told me that she had a synthetic piece put in to build it. And like with Sydney, they used her own skin and just kind of like mended it together. So they've come a long way. Sydney is already doing speech therapy, so we're getting ahead of the problem before it happens. Luckily, New York considers a cleft palate a birth defect. So, I mean, I say luckily, but you're not lucky to be born with that. But because of that, in the state of New York, we were able to get her speech therapy, and you know, we really got ahead of the problem, and I think you guys are going to do great. And I'm here if you need to call me or text me or anything. It's hard.
I'll definitely be getting I'll be getting your info for sure. Thank you for that.
No problem. I mean, I know what it's like, and like I said earlier, having that person who went through it just months before I did, who remembered the steps and how hard it was, and was just able to tell me, like, it's a memory now, you know, 3 months later, it's a memory. So yeah, we're there. It's hard. It's hard. And emotionally, it'll be harder on you. Physically, it'll be hard on your baby, but
yeah. I'm glad it's happening at a young age, and she
yes.
will remember it. But yeah. And again, thank you for saying everything that you said. Rich, we have people can call and they can donate, because Hassenfeld is just amazing. And if you call 1-800-222-1067, you can donate. And $20 makes you a bright light, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, $20 monthly donation, you'll become a bright light. And Kim, if someone's considering doing this, what would you say to them?
Honestly, I feel like we owe so much to Hassenfeld Children's Hospital, and it's not only the doctors, it's the nurses who work in and out every day, and especially through this pandemic. There are still children and babies out there who need their surgeries and who need the support, and there's so much that these private donations do for organizations like this hospital. And I mean, without the support that was given to the hospital prior to Sydney's surgery, she wouldn't have been able to get it. So I'm thankful to everyone who has given, and I hope that everyone continues to give, and that more people give. Just support the children, support the babies. And I'll add to that I'm sure the support goes to the programs that they have to keep the children who have to stay overnight in the hospital entertained, so to speak. And I mean, we had a music therapist come into Sydney's room and sing to her for an hour while she just screamed, and I tried to feed her, and it was just so comforting to have someone in there, not only for her, but for me. So support these programs. It's really important, and we appreciate it. And I'm sure there are thousands of other people who appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm so glad Sydney's doing so well, and you're here for Cubby, you're here for all of us, and Hassenfeld Children's Hospital is here for the community. Thank you. Really, you've made such a difference by sharing your story today. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting the world know about it.
Thank you.
Okay, on behalf of Sydney and Kim Shalom, thank you for being on. It is our Hope for the Holidays Radiothon on Light FM, keeping it going today, and we'd like you to become one of those bright lights, a $20 monthly donation. Cubby, Christine, Rich, it's 106.7 Light FM.
106.7 Light FM.